Hey, Internet. Barangay out here, or whatever the heck I should call myself. Talking to you, the voices in my head. So, today has been a heck of a day, especially the last few days. Real heck of a day. I discovered that I was in a coma dream. I discovered that from this coma dream, I had also learned enlightenment and walked with God. And at some point in 2019, I got canceled. And basically, it was either be demonetized forever or, well, I mean, actually, it wasn't much of a choice for me. I was just going to be demonetized, and I was going to be just okay with it, and then upload on my own time. Because, why was I being demonetized? I was doing too much fan fiction. By being in a coma dream and thinking about other people's works, and then adding on to it in my own lore about what's going on inside those fan works, or inside those works that other people were doing. Basically, what I would do is I would look at an idle tale. In Arabic, idle tale basically means fiction. I look at a piece of fiction, and I would ask myself, what would it take for that piece of fiction, just all this stuff in the background, what would it take for that to become a real world? Just like a real reality. What would that take? And just with that simple design ethos, I ended up getting demonetized outside of the coma dream. And I'm sure I know what you're asking. If in the last video I didn't address this, a voice in my head just asked me, and I'd feel just fine answering the question. Basically, just to readdress what it means with me being in a coma dream, and yet all of you guys seeing this on the internet. Basically, they're using this MRI scanner in order to get an AI to read my brain and then recreate whatever it is that I'm looking at and saying and doing, or writing down or reading, etc. And then that stuff ends up getting posted onto the internet. And at one point or another, I was having it be done as a live stream, and then I got demonetized. And I was okay with that. I was just fine with that. I didn't mind. As long as I was allowed to upload and say my F words, I was just fine with it. I did not care. And why would I care inside or outside the dream when I'm usually pretty okay with living poor? As long as I got my basic income, as long as I got my neat bucks, that gives me the ability to have shelter, food, and water. I'm pretty damn. Oh yeah, and a computer and internet access. It's like with those 5 things, my life is set. Okay, I don't need anything more. I really don't need anything more than that. Just give me my shrimpos, give me my beef steak, and give me my mincemeat. That's all I need. Oh yeah, and of course a tent. I'd be okay with living in a tent, honestly. But that is a matter of opinion among various different people. But regardless of that, that's the reality that I'm living in right now. Where me inside this coma dream, I talk to all of you guys outside of this coma dream through an MRI scanner that posts my mind onto the internet. And at some point or another, I got demonetized, and my old friends from high school, they're creeping over my body, and they're like, we're not really going to give you a choice about this, because as it turns out, Dan Schneider is like the coolest guy ever, and apparently he wants to just manage all of this, and just like, just make that dream of yours a reality, man, where all of your old friends from high school are literally the devil, and they'll just torture you because you're literally the one. And I'm like, but guys, I've been spending this whole time trying to refute all these voices in my head telling me that I'm the word of God who's faithful and true. They're like, yeah, but now you gotta believe it and go to war with us. And I'm like, or what? And they're like, or we're gonna porneia you, or we're gonna sexual immorality you until you do. And I'm like, this oddly enough does sound like it reflects what Lord Yavah would end up going through. if he was ever incarnated onto this world, if he, at any point he actually just wanted to go through the throes of suffering, I figure this would be the way to do it, is the persecutions of the devil. And so naturally that's what they did. They demonetized the channel. No, actually, Dan Schneider came in and gave it a TV show. Said, yeah, this is the story of the nobody, the white red devil who goes around turning everybody into racists. He gets minorities to be racist against other minorities and gets white people to be even more racist than they were before. It's all the white red devil's plan. Why? Because not even he can decide what race he is. Insane, right, internet? Absolutely insane. I'm glad that I'm here talking to you as a schizo, so that way we can all address how crazy this is. Because, yeah, that's what Dan Schneider decided to make me. And I'm like, man, all I do is go around telling people the dog whistles that are on the frickin' on their signs, the dog whistles on business signs. I'm like, yep, I could break that one down right there. Yep, that's a dog whistle. That's a dog whistle. They're dog whistling about how they're raping kids in that place. And that's literally all I do. But somehow I'm being manhunted by the ROJ and the government, or as I respectfully call them, the government. And they've just been nonstop running a train on my butthole ever since then, in 2019, here inside the Coma Dream. And coincidentally, they said, well, now is when the Antichrist starts his war against you. Yeah, totally. I'm like, okay. And so he spends, a good few years just gathering people against me. Just going around, talking to a bunch of rich people, saying, okay, so I've totally found it. I found the guy. He's the one. He's the word of God who's faithful and true. We gotta run a train on his butthole until he dies. They're all like, are you sure that's a great idea if he's the one and all? And he's like, nah. I got this, dude. I totally got this. And they're like, okay, man. You're the really wealthy investor that we want to invest in here at the Bilderberg Group. Verbatim words, by the way. And yeah, so he spends about, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, he spends 3 years doing that. And then November of 22, he decides to basically, man, it's really complicated, right? Because, he ends up finding this girl, another old girl from high school, her name being Catherine. And, I always knew her as, the most innocent, sweet girl ever. And I always figured everyone was lying about her. It was either that or she hated me and was super self-righteous about it. But I'm like, nah, it's probably not that. Little blonde, blue-eyed, bleach blonde, or blue-eyed, platinum blonde girl. Why would she be pure evil? And basically, I was spiritually, psychically dating her for a couple weeks. Until eventually, I was going steady with her. And then after 3 weeks, I'm like, can we just keep going steady? And she freaks out and breaks up with me there on the spot. Like, man, why does this always happen? Why does this always happen to a good Christian guy? Or even a good Christian girl? It just always ends up happening. You want to go steady with a person, and it's like, okay, how long do I have to go steady for? I'm like, here's a appointed amount of time. Are you willing to do that? Like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it for that long. And you go that long, and you're like, yeah, I kind of want to just keep going steady. And then it's just instantly, it's a fight, and they break up with you. It's like, why? Genuinely, I just want to know if you're good for marriage. And then basically after that, Kayla ends up showing up. My spirit's broken. Kayla from, I don't think I've told a story about her. But yeah, Kayla from Dream SMP, alternate, but here in Clown World, Kayla, as I know her, is actually just at Tiny Burninator on Twitter. Yeah, well, she ends up coming into my room spiritually and saying, well, you want some? And I'm like, yeah, but you're married. She's like, I'm gonna do it to you anyway. And I'm like, geez, well, I might as well just consent. and then the Antichrist and Catherine both chime in, and they're like, but don't you know she's Jezebeth? I'm like, yeah, but I just reread the Bible, and as it says in the Bible, it's Christ who puts that curse on her, not me, because I think that I'm God in this weird coma dream, right? So it's like, I think I'm just gonna do it anyway. So I do, and ever since then, in 2019, they have been doing nothing but nonstop riding a train on my beehole and mouth. And here inside the coma dream, that translates to me hallucinating it 24/7. And it's like, man, this is creepy. I don't think there's enough time in the world for them to actually be running a train on me like this. And then, it's like, then there's this guy coming in being like, well, you know what, I'm in a white power gang. We have way more power to do that than you think. Like, not only do I have enough paying customers to do this, I could just, I could probably just sell your body for free and have it be done to just my friends and family, etc. And I'm like, oh, dear God. Chris, is that really you? I dated your daughter. She used to love me. He's like, well, not anymore, pal. Deal with it. I'm like, oh, God. This sucks. All because I didn't even know it, but I banged some girl in a public bathroom in Amador County and didn't even know she was in a crime family. And the shitty part is, I actually did hear rumors in high school that she was selling illegal doujin to people. Shota porn from Japan, of all things. So, yeah. Illegal doujin. Yeah. What? Do I have a point? Yeah. I was going to talk about something else, but I guess now all I'm talking about is the coma dream again. So I guess I'm going to do that. Oh yeah, now I remember. I was talking about how I've been having a hell of a day, because outside of the coma dream, basically I busted them. Or at the very least, God, Yavah, God in heaven, God here on earth, who was also, coincidentally, may have been born December 21st of 2012. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, coincidentally, it's just like, at some point or another, just everything started to get awful here inside the dream, and I met Lord Yavah outside of the dream. He's a little kid. He's got a little bit of a frumpy face. I don't mind. I think he's great. He's got red hair. He's a little kid. He's fat like I am. A little bit fatter than I am, actually. But, I don't have any problem with him. And it's like, well, you're coming here as a spirit. Do you acknowledge that Christ is Son in flesh? And he's like, yes, I'm your Lord. I'm like, oh, wow. Just give me a second to take a step back, let this reel and sit into me. Because, man, I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out over here. Jeez. This whole dang time, Dan Schneider's been shoving this down my throat that I've been the one. Here it is the whole time that you actually granted my prayer in 2014 that I just walk with you and get to be in your place. Here in Clown World, and it's like, Lord Yavah, help me out, they're running a train on me. And it's been nothing but non-stop, pure, unadulterated hell since 2022. Because, they said 3 years to gather them all together, and then 3 years to fight them. Yeah, totally. And it's actually been much longer than 3 years, as it turns out. It's been 3 years, 7 months, and several odd days. I haven't exactly been keeping a tally, but I check in every now and then. I remember it was November 22nd of 2022, where they decided to do this to me. And then outside of Clown World, apparently there are these weird time dilation effects because of AI and the way that my brain works. I can run through a lot of time really quickly inside my mind because of both enlightenment and also just because of me being smart and able to do that. And so because of that, outside of Clown World, it's probably not even 2025 like it is inside Clown World. And I end up discovering there's this demon called Korra Khan that basically floats in and possesses random people around me to then torture me. And it's like, these random people probably don't even know that they end up getting possessed by this frickin' thing, and it freaks us all out. Because sometimes they have memories about it. So it's like, all I have to do is mention it, and then everyone's like, crud, was I possessed by a demon? But yeah, for the various people who end up seeing this video and do get worried about being possessed by demons, and your afterlife, just remember that in the end, what God really cares about is what happens in the backseat. You may be presently aware of everything that's going on, just like Islam says, but it's the matters of your heart that really matter. Because, you being presently aware, sometimes you can fight back, sometimes you can't. Mind control, as it turns out, kind of exists. So when you are being mind controlled, it's the core of your being that matters. It's not really what you're doing. So with that being said, a lot of people say you could probably just off a possessed person and it wouldn't really be a sin either if they're just stuck that way. But if it's like a temporary possession, yeah, it's not the same to do that. But I digress. I'll talk about that stuff in a different video. But I'm gonna stick to what's been going on with Clown World and what's been going on outside of Clown World. Apparently, as I've discovered inside of Clown World, what has been happening outside of Clown World is that Kayla, Brandon, and all their friends have been running a rape train on me. Yes, 15 minutes in, now I'm allowed to say rape, but not more than that. Yes, this porneia train has indeed been all too awful to deal with. And my God, if it hasn't made me cry at night. But apparently the big thing that managed to get them caught is that now that I've come back to this shelter, they have decided outside of the Clown World dream to empty my bedpan into my mouth. For the second time, as it turns out. Because the last time that I was here, about 2 years ago, they did the same thing. And I got oh wait, no. It wasn't even 2 years ago, yeah. It was actually earlier this year. Yeah. They emptied the bedpan into my mouth again. Oh, God. Yeah, and then that's one of the things that happens, is that I end up throwing up invisible demon poop. Ow. And apparently, all of this is being done with a special EEG helmet with little obsidian plates on it that they put onto my head. And, you know, it's not real technology. It's not supposed to actually work that way. But, you know, just so all of you guys know, if enlightenment can do it, then as it turns out, antimony can do it just as fine. I.e., a computer can also do it just as fine. So, you know, interdimensional travel, faster than light, all the stuff that enlightenment can do, as it turns out, machines can do it too. So, outside of Clown World, they're basically just people running a YouTube channel, and apparently, all in one night, they end up getting caught. And that night has only recently begun. As of 2 days ago for me. But inside Clown World, it's been 3 days. And therefore, 3 days of agony. But you know what? I have lost my mind. I have given myself to the throes of God, and therefore, all pain is not actually true suffering. Why? Because I'm not going to die from this. I don't have to worry. I don't have to actually feel hurt. It's just agony. Even pain itself does not have to bother you once you realize that you're above it all and that you go to heaven. And it's the best. I love that, because I love my God. My God is good. My God put me on this place, in this world, in order to speak for him. And at one point or another, he actually said that I got to be an intercessor. Which still freaks me out. Because, yeah, I ended up asking him if Christ was sent in the flesh, and he said, yeah, you know, it doesn't really bother me that much that you say that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's also confusing, you know, because the nature of all this dream is that basically, unless you're reading the word transcript of the entire thing, which, believe me, is beefy, really beefy. This thing is way too long. And there's an astoundingly illegal reason for it, too. Where basically they were forcing my mind to forget everything and just go back on a time loop. And basically this is how they would get their TV show made, is by turning me into either a horrible person or a good person, whatever the need would permit, and then time looping me over and over and over again until they got something close to the script that they wrote with Dan Schneider. And, you know, inside Clown World, I managed to get several different things made about the man, like Quiet on Set, which basically was a bunch of people blowing the whistle on him, and also mentioning, yeah, and, you know, it's like, plenty of people in Hollywood, they knew about it, and they were happy to give a voucher for him getting a job or whatever, but, you know, it's like, when it finally came down to it and lying in court, it's just, there weren't a lot of people willing to do that. Because there were many points in time where people had blown the whistle to the corporate executives, and the corporate executives said, ah, cool, and then proceeded to do absolutely F all nothing about it. So that sucks. But, you know, eventually, apparently, they went to the courts and the police about it, and then something actually did get done. Because then, there was just enough whistleblowers, namely the fact that they were all actors, all working together. That they weren't always working together, per se, but in this court case, they all worked together, corroborated their evidence, etc., all with the lawyer that they worked with, and managed to get Dan Schneider caught. Just like with Epstein Island. Here inside Clown World, I also managed to work with, I would psychically send my voice out to people, right? And basically, I got a couple of the little girls that Epstein had used to recruit other little girls to blow the whistle by telling them that they would be protected as long as they had faith. And then eventually, apparently, they lost their faith, and some of them have ended up in mysterious circumstances. So that freaks me out. But yeah, that's also a thing that happened here in Clown World. And then outside of Clown World, I've just been spending the last 2 or 3 hours trying to track down trying to track down Kayla, because apparently she has been in on it and just supporting it the entire time with the demon Korokon, because, you know, her being isogathic just thinks that demons are so cool. Which really sucks, because I always loved the gothic fashion style, and I, as it turns out, don't think that demons are so cool. Much rather, I think that the biblically accurate imagery of angels in the Bible way cooler and more metal than anything that death metal has ever been. Same with Revelation, too. Just way cooler and more death metal than anything I've ever seen those posers put out. But yeah, you know, that's what's been going on in my life. Oh, voices in my head. Boy, if it doesn't suck. Because, man, they do nothing but violence to me over and over and over again. And they're sending gangs, white power gangs, to F my day up. God, if it isn't working, I feel concussed out of nowhere. This sucks. Anyway, that's been me, Schizo Vlogger, talking to you, the voices in his head.